coming. New people, again, we're going to pick on you. Thank you for coming. Everybody give them a hand for new. Okay, so for the new folks, there's a few things that we do at the beginning of every meeting. We have what we call a quick pitch, which we'll get to in a minute. Quick pitch is done by VIP members and sponsors, where they get up and they talk about their business, what they do. If they have a deal to sell, they can pitch their deal. And they can pitch pretty much anything that doesn't compete with this meetup. Makes sense, right? How's that? That sounds better. Okay. And tonight we've got we have a lot of stuff to cover tonight. It's going to be a really, really good meeting. So we get started with something we typically do. We thank all of our sponsors, who, every one of the people that you see up here are very well vetted. They've been doing business with people in this meetup for a really long time. They're great business people. They can help you. They can take care of a lot of great stuff for you. Did I forget something?
It's okay. You got it.
Okay, so it is quick pitch time now. So, anyone who has ticket for a quick pitch? Yeah, you can line up on that side.
Repeat it again.
Howdy, my name is Steve LeRae. I'm a sponsor of the BWI meetup, LeRae Insurance. Thanks to Jerome, my buddy with the cookies over there. If you haven't seen it, my favorite new member today. Got some cookies. Chocolate chip with the M&Ms in it. I own LeRae Insurance. We're a title sponsor. In the back, you'll see I've got these builder's risk flyers out there. If you're buying and rehabbing, you get broken into, if you don't have builder's risk, you need theft insurance, somebody steals out your copper pipes, it'd be helpful to have theft insurance. I've gotten 2 calls already this week on that kind of stuff. So if you're there, you need the right insurance. It's not overly expensive. Get one of these policies. We sell a ton of them. If you're paying too much for landlord insurance, give us a call. We have companies you've never heard of with amazing rates and amazing coverages. I've got a nice contractor here tonight. We specialize in contractors insurance. Steve LeRae, LeRae Insurance, we do it all. But again, anything having to do with insurance or anything you're buying in terms of rehabbing, etc., we can help you. Thank you. Look forward to working with you.
Phone number.
Let me give you my phone number.
410-602-2636. The website's easy, LeRaeInsurance.com. It's L-U-R-A-Y like the caverns. I've got the biggest business card in the world back there. It's about 8 by 10. You know, and grab one of the flyers. It will keep you out of trouble. Thank you.
My name is Dave Wandell, roofing contractor and a full-time real estate investor. Realtors, I do roof certs, get them done for you within 24 hours. And for any of your wholesalers in there, out here, I am looking for properties always in Anne Arundel County and Baltimore County from Middle River around to our units. My number is 410-440-2991, 410-440-2991. I do have cards in the back. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Tom Payne. I've got a wholesale deal in Highlandtown. ARV is about 362, 100 rehab, 400 block of South Clinton Street. We're asking 153. Flyers in the back. My number is 410-236-2582.
Hi everybody, welcome to all the new people again. My name's Joe, I'm with Cresco Management. Thanks for coming. Some people say that fix and flippers are going to get crushed when the next recession occurs. Some people say buying a home, it's over because of the legislation for landlords coming down. I say you need to press go and work with somebody that goes from concept through funding, through settlement, and then either flip or hold for tenancy. Presco Management, 443-336-7000 or www.prescomanagement. And if you need a good fish nurse, there's one here tonight.
Hey guys, my name is Terry Royce. I'm an investor here in the Baltimore market. I've been investing, buying, rehabbing, wholesaling for the last 10 years. We buy more deals than we can take on. Right now we have properties all over Baltimore County, Baltimore City, and Anne Arundel County as well that we are looking to wholesale if we can rehab them. Dundalk, Arnold, all kinds of different areas. If you guys are looking for rehab deals or rental deals, you can join up for our mobile notification list by texting the number 24587. Text the word investor to 24587. It'll instantly sign you up. When we send our deals out, you'll get a text alert about them, just quick with a little link, nothing more, no spam. Again, the number is 24587. Text the word investor to that. You'll be instantly on the list. Thanks a lot, guys.
How you doing? I'm Bill Ames. I'm an active rehabber. I have 3-4 projects going on right now. We are looking for more deals. We have some cash sitting in the bank, so we're ready to buy deals quickly. We can settle in under 10 days. If you're a wholesaler and you have deals, you can call me or myself, 410-207-1151. I have these green and white cards that are on the back table. And really, if you're thinking about wholesaling, you might have a deal next week. Write my phone number down, 410-207-1151. We're ready to move in very quickly. Speed of light, okay?
Yesterday.
Perfect, thanks.
For those of you who don't know, Bill is one of the founders of this meetup. We wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, now it's my turn. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Amy Presley. Nice to see so many new people here. Welcome. I just do some announcements every time. And for people who don't, let me ask this. How many people in this room are using the My REI Pro? Okay. This is a really cool thing. Andy and I have been using it for almost 2 years now, and which is why we got the version white label for our community. Try it out, 30-day free trial. Go to www.myreipro.com and you can try it. But what I want to know for those people who are using it, if anyone's interested in being part of a user group, I'm going to be starting a user group, so if people have questions or need help with it or have suggestions for additional features, just send me an email to admin@bwi.com. And I want to get that started as quick as next week. So whoever's in, I'll be leading that. So thank you. Next, we have a really great thing happening on June 18th at the National Harbor. It's the Think Realty Expo. This is a great national company for real estate investors. And what's really cool about this one, 2 things. BWI members, we get to pay $25 a ticket instead of $45. And because of a relationship we have with some of the organizers there, we're going to have a really fun thing there this year, which is called Deal Street. So anybody who has a deal they want to bring and talk to someone to have it analyzed, look to see if it's fundable, look for buyers or buyers who are looking for deals. We're going to be hosting that. It'll be a central theme for the expo, and hopefully you'll be able to find or sell deals there. We'll have some really good lenders who will be there. Some are sitting in the room, but I won't name just a few. You have to come and see. If you want to do this, just go to thinkrealty.com and you can log in. If you're going to get a ticket, just type in, I think it's just BWI Meetup, and that'll give you the discount. So that's happening on June 18th. That'll be fun.
And lunch is included.
Oh yeah, lunch included for $25, so that's cool. But this is really, really cool. For anyone who wasn't here last week, we introduced through one of our affiliates who's on our advisory board, which is Jay Pomisano and his team, including Adam Weiner and MJ and Paul. We've created something called Deal Analyzer Table. So if you pass through and you saw something out in the hall, it says Deal Analyzer Table. It's about trying to help people who have deals but don't know if they have a deal to get information, get it qualified, and possibly help it get sold. So I would like to introduce Adam Weiner from Trusted Home Buyers, and he's going to tell you more about it.
Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? Good, thanks for coming out, appreciate you being here. You guys being here, you should congratulate yourselves because you know there's a lot of people out there that want to be in this business and they don't know where to start. You've definitely come to the right place. Andy and Amy and the BWI group is committed to providing resources and training to you guys and a place where you can network. It's just a great community, so if it's your first time here, welcome and thanks for joining the group. As Amy mentioned, and if you weren't here last week, my partner did a fantastic job talking about being able to provide resources and tools that can help you guys. You know, do you know, if you're out there driving leads and you're getting leads in, but you have no idea what to do with them, that's what we're here for. Or let's say you're always looking at houses, but you get a land deal that comes in. What do I do with it? I have no idea. Well, don't let that lead go. Call us, contact us. It's a free service. There's no cost to you. Again, Andy and Amy have set this up so that you guys have the ability to figure out the best way to monetize your deal, and that's what we're here to help you do. There's a couple tools that we've created to help you. First thing here is the Deal Analyzer. This is to help you guys basically figure out if you're in the game. Is this a deal? In other words, all the time we have people that bring stuff to us that basically they have no idea, is this a deal or not? We get stuff that the house is worth $225 and they bring it to us and they say, hey, I've got this under contract for $200. And so, oh boy, that's not really a deal there. So anyway, what we want to be able to do is provide you with a really simple, basic tool, which, by the way, just as a disclaimer, you're not going to use this tool to make buying decisions on, but what it's going to do is it's going to help you just figure out, are you in the game? There's some great formulas in here that help you figure out from a per square foot basis what my repairs are going to be. If you have no idea how to estimate repairs, for example, we have some built-in formulas in this Deal Analyzer that allow you to plug some numbers in and tell you, hey, am I in the game? Is this a deal? Are we even close to a deal? And my partner Jay put together a great, just a 5-minute little video that you can go on. Is it on the site?
No, it was, but it's not for.
Okay, it'll be up very shortly if you go to the BWI webpage, and he'll go through this Deal Analyzer line by line and tell you exactly what you need to do, where you need to plug the numbers in, what the numbers mean, so that you can plug those numbers in and say, wait a second, I think I really do have something here. And when you do, then you call us or you send us an email. We're out there at the Deal Analyzer table tonight. You can come bring anything to us. What we want to do with this is create some guidelines for you so that you guys aren't bringing everything under the moon to us. We want you to be able to use this as a tool and say, you know what, I think there's something here. I better call these guys and figure out, what can I do with this lead now that I have it? Let's see, what else can I tell you? So we're going to be out there all night. You guys can come out, bring anything, any questions tonight that you have. And then beyond that, we're there every day for you, whether it be a phone call or an email directly to MJ, who you can meet out there as well. You get a card from her. If you guys want to write down BWI deals at trustedbuyers.com, and there's a deal submission guidelines. Again, they'll be on the website. Tells you what you need to submit to us in order for us to review your deal. And what Jay talked a lot about last week was there's a lot of exit strategies when you do have a deal. There's a lot of different ways that we can help you figure out how to monetize that deal. You know, do you want to wholesale it? We talked a lot about auction. We have an auction company. It can often be a much more lucrative way for you to actually wholesale a deal. Jay talked a lot about that last week. Like, you might have, let's say you have 4 or 5 people who are really good qualified buyers on your buyers list. You call them up and you get offers from them. But what you don't know is what's out there in the greater marketplace. So with an auction, for example, we're able to market that deal, get tons of people out on the lawn of the property and have them competing, create the competitive environment. And oftentimes we'll get much more than if you called the 3 or 4 buyers on your buyers list that are actually buyers. So we'll help you through that process and we'll help you figure out what you need to do to monetize that deal the best. And we're there, we're certainly buyers. Last year we did 50 rehabs. We're one of the larger real estate investment companies in the area. And sure, if you have a deal, we'd love to buy the deal from you. But oftentimes it doesn't work for us. That doesn't mean that there's not a way that we can help you figure out a way to make money on that deal. That's what we're here for. So please come on back throughout the night, even during our speaker, who I'm really excited to hear what he has to say. But please come on back throughout the night, back to the deal analyzer table, introduce yourself. If you have a deal you want us to look at, we'll sit there with you and we'll look at it. If there's too many people out there to talk, what we'll do is we'll get your name and your email address and your phone number. You can come back in, listen to the speaker, and we'll text you when we have an open spot for you. So you'll give us your number, we'll text you, you guys can come on out, and we'll certainly sit there and look at the deal with you. All right? I look forward to meeting each and every one of you. Good luck to everybody, and again, thanks for being here.
Everybody who wants to receive that analyzer, it's not yet up on the site. I tried to get it there by tonight, but it wasn't working. So if you just send an email to admin@bwrmeetup.com, I'll send you the whole package. So thanks.
Okay. And before Amy says she just makes announcements, I think, that's not really true. She makes really great coffee as well. She's my business partner, and she keeps this thing afloat, believe me, she's amazing. So now I'd like to introduce our guest speaker for tonight, Mr. Paul Rossano. Paul, come on up. Everybody give Paul a hand.
Thank you, Andy. All right, online? How's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
You guys can do better than that. Come on, I said, how's everybody doing tonight? Great. A little bit better. So, like Andy said, my name is Paul Rossano, and tonight I'm going to be talking about the Wealthy Code, which is right up here on the screen. So, I'm going to start with 2 very serious questions. First question is, how many of you want more income? Okay, good. Most of you. And how many want that income to be passive? The fact is, over 90% of investors start investing in the first place because they want income, right? They want to get out of the rat race. They don't want to have to go to work anymore, right? They go punch a clock and work 9 to 5 hours, or in this day and age, 8 to 8 hours, right? So that they can make a paycheck. So that's why people start investing. Over 90% of people that start investing, that's the reason they do it, is because they want to replace their working income, right? So they want passive income. And the objective here tonight is to open your eyes to the formula for generating passive income without dependency on any specific asset that only the most sophisticated investors know. So we want to open your eyes to this formula tonight. Right? And when it says here that it's not dependent on any specific asset, what that means is this formula works for any income-producing asset. Right? Any what kind of asset?
Income.
Any income-producing asset. So real estate can be an income-producing asset. Buy and holds can be income-producing, but there are a lot of other assets out there that can be income-producing assets as well. So this formula works for any income-producing asset. Right? It doesn't necessarily just have to be real estate, but obviously it works for real estate too. And when I say only the most sophisticated investors in the world, I mean only the top 1% of investors in the world know and use this passive income formula. Top 1%. All right? which reminds me of a story. So a quick survey of the room. How many people here have heard of the founder of our company? His name is George Antone. How many people have heard of George? Okay, so just a few of you. Excellent. Excellent. So George founded our company. He's the best-selling author of the 2 books. The one that this training is based on, The Wealthy Code, is one of them. And George, about 5 years ago, he was in a meeting with 8 other people. So there's 9 people total in this meeting. And the reason that they were meeting is they were working on putting a deal together. And the deal they were working on putting together was to build plants that would take manure and turn the manure into electricity. Right? So a new form of renewable energy. And this is out in California. Each of these plants cost $10 million to build, and they're working on a deal to build 5 of them. So it's a $50 million deal that they're putting together. And they're all in this room meeting, and it says up here on the screen, Brainiacs meeting. The reason it says that is because every person in this meeting, besides George, was an Ivy League graduate. And what George quickly realized is that when you're in the room with 8 Ivy League graduates and you're the only one that's not an Ivy League graduate, they all know it, right? And it lets you know that they know it. So they're in this meeting, and they're working on putting the deal together, and there's a woman that goes to the front of the room, and she gives a presentation on how they should structure the financing for this deal, right? How they should put all the pieces together from the financing perspective to make this deal happen. So she gives her presentation, and everybody else in the meeting was kind of nodding and thumbs up. Looks good, let's do it. And George is the only person in this meeting that's shaking his head no. And he says, guys, actually, sorry to say, but this is not the best way to structure this deal. So, being the only non-Ivy League graduate, they all kind of turn and look at him like, who is this guy to tell us how to do the deal? And luckily for George, there was one guy in the room that was kind of sitting right across from him. And he had his laptop open. He was kind of just plugging away on his computer. And when George said what he said, this guy says, bingo. So George is like, bingo? What do you mean bingo? And George goes, oh, the guy says to George, he says, you know what, George, I've been involved in mega deals, incredibly complex deals, with some of the most savvy investors on the planet. And in all my years of doing what I've been doing over 30 years, you're the first person that has ever said what you just said. And you know what? You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. And this guy happened to be the only guy in the room that had 2 Ivy League degrees, so he had everyone's respect in the room. So now everybody else in the room turns back and looks at George, and they're like, George, do you mind showing us what you showed us again? Because we weren't paying attention to you the first time. So George ended up sharing it with them again, and they ended up structuring the deal the way he suggested to do it. And the reason I share that story with you is to let you know the level that this information will have you playing at. At that level, where you're in a room with Ivy League graduates that are in the investing world, and you can know more than they can know, than they do know, right? So how does that sound? How would you guys like that? All right, good. So let's move on here. So I travel all over the country teaching this information to people. So I meet tons of investors all over the place, and people are constantly introducing themselves as investors and saying that they're investors. And when I get to talking to most of these people, the truth is that most of them have nothing to show for it. You know, they identify themselves as investors, and they're struggling. You know, they're bouncing around from deal to deal, from shiny object to shiny object, and a lot of them are just struggling to find their way, trying to create success as investors. And they're having a hard time doing it, right? People are raising money from friends and family and losing it. In fact, a guy that I met a few months ago in Florida at an event, he had raised over $1 million from friends and family. And within 2 years, it was all gone. He lost it all. How would that feel? Not good. Not good. Thanksgiving dinner tends to be a little different after you have an experience like that, right? So, the truth is, most investors are lost. Most investors are lost when it comes to investing for the purpose of income. And the reason they're lost is because they don't have this formula. They don't know the formula. So that's what we're going to be talking about here tonight. is this passive income for me, okay? So who am I and why should you listen to me? And this is my pre-beard picture, but that's me. All right, so who am I and what's my background? Let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm from New York and went to college down in Florida, got a finance degree. Moved back to New York after college in the late 90s and got involved in real estate right away. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I went away to college, like most people, but got involved in real estate. It seemed like something that, I could create success doing it. And stayed involved in real estate full-time for the next 14 years. And full-time investor and broker on both the residential and commercial side of the business, involved in hundreds and hundreds of transactions over those years, bought and sold many properties, had a bunch of rentals, apartment buildings, done a bunch of lending. So I have a lot of experience within the real estate world and within the investing world. And also as an entrepreneur, I started four separate businesses that I've exited in different ways and created success as an entrepreneur as well. So what's important about that is that when I met George Antone, the founder of our company, and based on what this company does and teaches, and my background, George Antone hand-selected me to be the person that's traveling around the country teaching this information to people all over the place. All right, so that's just a little bit about me and about my background. So now a little bit about our company. Who are we as a company, and why should you listen to us as a company? So the name of our company is right up here on the screen. It's Impact Wealth. Impact Wealth. We're based out of California. And I can tell you that our company, Impact Wealth, has been recognized by Inc. 500 magazine 2 years in a row as one of the fastest growing companies in America. In fact, the number 7 fastest growing company in the education space in the entire country. But you know what? Who cares? Who cares? I could also tell you that we've created the largest network of private lenders in the entire world. But you know what? Who cares? Who cares? I could also tell you George Antone, the founder of our company, is the best-selling author of 2 books, The Wealthy Code, that this training is based on, and another book called The Banker's Code. But guess what? Let me hear it. Who cares? That's right. Who cares? I could also tell you that George has been a radio host on the Wall Street Radio Network, but take a guess. Let me hear it. Who cares? That's right. Who cares about any of that? Here's why you should care, and here is why you should listen. Because this information that I'm about to share with you tonight can be the difference between success and failure for every single one of you as investors. I'll say it again. This information can be the difference between success and failure for every single one of you. That's why you should listen. Okay? So are you ready? Yes. I'm not convinced. Are you ready? Yes. Okay, so let's get going. So here's our agenda for tonight's training. We're going to start with the deal. We're going to start with the deal. So can we get those deals passed out? So we're going to pass out a sheet to everybody that has a deal on it. And we're going to be looking at this deal and figuring out the best way to put this deal together, how to structure it between a down payment and a loan to purchase an income-producing asset, all right? So everybody will get one of these pieces of paper that has the information on it. And once you all have one, we will continue. Judy, let me grab one of those from you too. By the way, while we're doing this, I want to just take a minute as well and just thank a couple of people. I want to thank Judy Shondu, who's passing out these deals for you guys. She helped put this whole thing together and bring this training to this group through Andy and Amy. So I want to thank them. These guys are amazing, and the time and energy they put into making this group happen and creating this space for all of you to learn and grow and prosper is really phenomenal. I do this and work with clubs all over the country, and these guys really go above and beyond to make this a valuable group for all of you. So I just want to thank them, acknowledge them, and give them a huge round of applause. Thank you very much. Really appreciate being here. All right, so does anybody not have one of these deal exercises? If you don't have one, just raise your hand up high. Okay. All right, we're good. Okay, so here we go. Here's the deal. So it's time to start discovering the formula for passive income, all right? So again, the objective is to learn to generate passive income from any asset, or any income-producing asset, right? Any income-producing asset. So you notice we put a picture of a house on the piece of paper here. I mean, there's a house up here on the screen. The reason we put a house is because this is a group of real estate investors, right? So you're comfortable thinking of real estate as income-producing assets. So we put a picture of a house just so you can feel nice and cozy and comfortable like this little baby swaddled up here, right? All right, so that's why there's a house, but I want to make sure you're all really clear that this formula works for any income-producing asset. It doesn't have to be real estate, okay? But we're going to use real estate as an example here. So what it says, up there at the top left on your page, it says, you're looking for a long-term, 10-year buy and hold. How many years? 10 years. You find a great income-producing asset, that's $100,000. You want to structure the safest deal possible for passive income. What kind of deal? The safest. Keyword safest. Okay? So you want to pick one loan option and one down payment option. And this is going to be a standard 80-20 deal. So the loan would be 80%, so it would be $80,000 for the loan, and the down payment would be 20%, $20,000. Okay? So on your own, not working together, no collaboration on this part. Okay? On your own, everybody take a minute, check out those 5 loan options, A through E, and when you know what the right answer is to make this deal as safe as possible, go ahead and shout it out. Shout it out when you know. Go ahead and just shout it out. Okay, so just for the loan. So C, did you say D back there? D?
DP option 3.
Oh, what about the loan? We're just doing the loan right now.
I thought you were giving me a loan.
I can.
Not that smart.
So we got C, A, D, E. So we got D, B, A, and E, right? Did anyone pick C? C? Okay. All right, so we got all of them. We got all of them. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, now let's check out the down payment. So same deal. Take a minute, look at the 6 down payment options. And when you know the right answer, go ahead and shout it out. 3. Okay, 3, 2, 6, 4. Who said 5? You said high? Oh, hike. Yeah, go along. All right, so what do we got so far? What are we missing? So we're missing 1. Guys, help me out. We're missing 5 and 1, right? Okay, you like 5? You like 1. Okay. So we got all the down payment options too. All right, excellent. Very good. So here we are. We're a room full of investors, right? A room full of investors. And we want to put this deal together, a very simple $100,000 asset, income-producing asset, very standard, 20% down payment, 80% loan, in a room full of investors, and within a few minutes, we just came up with every single combination possible off of this sample deal. What is wrong with this picture?
What's wrong? Yeah, what's wrong is that it depends on your goal, and it depends on so many things. It depends on the deal and what kind of cash you have, and I don't think there is any one correct answer.
Well, there is, and we're going to get to it. And you'll see in just a little bit that there is actually a correct answer. So what is wrong with this picture is this. There are people out there that expect that you guys know the answer to this question. And you know how to put this deal together the safest way possible. So there are people that may come to you for guidance, may come to you with questions, may invest their money with you to put their money into a deal, and they expect that you know how to do it the right way, right? And there is a correct answer. There is one choice for the loan and one choice for the down payment that will make this deal as safe as possible. So the goal is, again, to make the deal as safe as possible. That's the outcome we want for this particular exercise. So for now, we'll just leave it at that, and by the end of tonight's training, within the next hour, you will all be able to look at this, and within a few seconds, you'll know the right answer. So we're going to get to that. I'm not going to give you the answer just yet, but we're going to get to it by the end, okay? So I'm going to leave you guys hanging for a little while, all right? So let's move on for now. That was the deal. Let's talk about the problem. Let's talk about the problem. We've all had days where we felt like this, right? So what problems do you have with passive income? What are some problems you have with passive income? What's that?
They spend it better to save and put it away.
It's easy to spend it. Maybe not having any or not having enough is a problem, right? Lots of problems or potential problems with passive income, yes?
Can you explain a little bit the difference between active and passive income for group?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So, great question. What's your name? Jeff. So, great question, Jeff. Thank you for asking that. So, what's the difference between active and passive income? Who can help me out with that?
One you have to work for, and the other one you don't really just comes.
So one you have to work for and the other you don't. It just comes, right? So to expand on that just a little bit, what's your name? Lori? Corey? Thank you, Corey. So to expand on what Corey said just a little bit, active income is that's exactly right, is income you have to work for. So your job or any other income that you have to continuously be working for to produce that income is active income, right? Passive income, or residual income, as you might hear it called as well, is income that you do work one time, right? And you might have to do some maintenance along the way, but you do work one time, you set something up, like for instance, you go buy a piece of real estate, and you hold it, right? You might have to do some maintenance, but you have rents that are coming in month after month, year after year, making you income without you having to continue to do the work to produce that income, right? So it's passive income or residual income. Okay, is that clear for everybody? Any questions on that? You guys with me? Let me hear you. Yes. All right, let me hear you loud. Yes. All right, that was better. Okay, good, Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
The implication being it's taxed better.
What's that?
The implication being how it's taxed.
The implication being how it's taxed? Okay, I mean, well, so we're not talking about taxes here, we're talking about creating passive income, right? So obviously, after the fact you create it, that's a separate conversation. But I'd rather have a whole bunch of passive income that's getting taxed a different way than having none at all, right? And having to go to work every single day, personally. All right, so let's get back to the problem here. So the problem, what are the problems with passive income? Okay, what are the problems with passive income? The biggest problem that I see with all the people I meet and all the people that I talk to is which vehicle do you choose to create your passive income? So you have all these choices. You can do apartment buildings, you can do commercial space, retail space, you can do storage, you can do network marketing or multi-level marketing, right? You can do internet marketing, you can start a business, you can do a whole slew of things that you can do to create passive income, right? And just real quick, no pictures taken of the screen, please, guys. So, which vehicle do you choose? Which vehicle do you choose? Who's read this book? It's called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Anybody read it? Let me see your hands up high. All right, excellent. What'd you guys think? Those that have read it. Great book, right? Highly recommended. Malcolm Gladwell is a fantastic author. He's got a few really powerful books out there. Outliers being one of them. In this book, Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hour rule. What's it called? The 10,000 hour rule. And what the 10,000 hour rule says is that it takes 10,000 hours to master anything. 10,000 hours to master anything. So what that translates into, 10,000 hours translates into 5 years if you're doing something full-time, and 10 years if you're doing it part-time. Okay? 5 years full-time, 10 years part-time. So the problem is that most investors, most people, they jump around from one investment vehicle to another with little to no success. And the reason that they're struggling to create success is because they haven't dedicated the time that it takes to master that vehicle, to actually be able to create success with it. Because it takes time and energy to get good at anything, right? And especially to master something. So people are jumping around, not spending the time it takes, and saying, oh, that doesn't work, let me go try something else. Oh, that doesn't work either, let me go try something else, right? And that's a common problem that we see. So back to these vehicles, right? You have all these vehicles to choose from. So let's just assume for a moment that you actually did take the 10,000 hours that it would take to master one of these vehicles. So you start investing, you pick a vehicle, right? Whichever one, you choose one. And you spend the 10,000 hours, 5 years or 10 years, full-time or part-time, to master that vehicle. What happens if it was the wrong vehicle? Oops, yep. Wasted that time, right? Can't get those years back. All right, let me pick another vehicle. So what happens, you choose another vehicle, you spend another 10,000 hours, 5 or 10 years, and then realize maybe that was the wrong vehicle too. Any of you like wasting the most precious commodity we have, time, that none of us know how much we get, right? So there's 5, 10, 15, 20 years of your life spent focusing on and learning what may just be the wrong vehicle for your goals as an investor. All right? So who's read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Hopefully all of your hands go up as investors. What do you guys think of this one? Great book, right? Life-changing. Yeah, we're big fans of Robert Kiyosaki and the work that he does, and this is an incredible book. So what happened is a lot of people read this book or a book like this, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and they went out and started investing. They said, I got it. I don't want to work for money anymore. I want my money to work for me. I want to be in the right quadrant, and I'm going to go start investing, right? And they got crushed. They lost their shirts. They lost it all. So the most sophisticated investors on the planet do this. See, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, this book was never meant to be a manual for investing. That's not why Robert Kiyosaki wrote it. He wrote that book to be about mindset. To be about what? Mindset. To help people shift their mindset and look at creating wealth and creating income in a different way. But it's not a manual for investing. So the most sophisticated investors do this. They read a book like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, then they use the formula, which is also the wealthy code. The formula is the wealthy code. And then go start investing. Because the formula, the wealthy code, this picks up where Rich Dad, Poor Dad left off. This teaches you how to do it. How to put it all together. So that you can then go out and start investing the right way, in the right vehicles, for your goals. Game changing. It's game changing. So again, the problem we're solving is how do we structure safer and more profitable deals, so safer and more profitable, with the right assets for passive income without wasting time. Without wasting what? Time. Without wasting time. Okay, so that's the problem that we're solving. So now let's talk about the foundation of this formula. Let's talk about the foundation of the wealthy code here. So what we have on the screen is the top tier investor triangle. The top tier investor triangle. What this shows you are the 3 skills every investor needs to have if you want to be a top tier investor. So everybody that wants to be a top tier investor needs to know how to structure deals correctly. And that's on the bottom. Why do you think that's on the bottom? That's right, it's the foundation. Structuring deals correctly is the foundation of success for every investor. And unfortunately, it's a foundation of failure for most investors. Because they think they know how to do it the right way, and they don't know how to do it the right way. All right? So structuring deals correctly, investing in the right assets, and raising private capital. Those are the 3 skills every investor needs to have to be a top-tier investor. So let's assume for a moment that you only had 2 of these 3 skills. Let's see what you think would happen. So let's say you got the Wealthy Code training, you know how to structure deals correctly, and let's say you know how to raise capital, but you invest in the wrong assets. What will happen if you invest in the wrong assets? You're going to lose money, right? You're going to lose your money and other people's money because you've raised capital. So it's a losing proposition investing in the wrong assets. What about if you invest in the right assets, you raise private capital, but you structure your deals incorrectly? What happens then? You're going to lose money, right? You're going to lose, right? Exactly. What about you structure deals correctly, invest in the right assets, but you do not know how to raise capital? What's going to happen? Wholesale. You can do that. It's a lot of work, though. It's a lot of work. I'll tell you what, that's what I used to do to put my deals together. I used to do a ton of wholesaling and a ton of fixing and flipping, and it's a lot of work. That is in the active income category. You have to keep doing it to keep making money. If you don't believe me, don't do it for 90 days. See what happens, right? But when you learn how to, again, these are the 3 skills that every investor needs to be a top-tier investor. And to be a top-tier investor, you need to learn how to raise capital. And once you learn how to raise capital, it can replace all the work you ever had to do with wholesaling and flipping. You just learn how to raise capital from people that have money and put their money to work for them, and you're the expert doing the investing, and it changes the whole game. And if you don't know how to raise capital, then you're limited to the amount that you can do based on how much money you have from wholesaling or flipping or your job or wherever you're getting your money from. You're very limited to the amount of deals you can do when you're only using your capital and you don't know how to raise money. Okay, so again, these are the 3 skills you all need to have to be top-tier investors that anybody needs to have. All right, so up here on the screen I have 2 definitions. So debt versus equity. So debt versus equity. And specifically debt financing versus equity financing. So who can help me out with these definitions? What is debt financing and what is equity financing? Who can help me out with those?
Debt is going out to borrow money, equity is taking it out of your pocket.
Who is this? Is this Jeff?
No, Bill.
Bill, go for it.
Debt is basically you're going to have to go get money from somewhere or something, being a bank or an investor. You're going to incur debt at that point. Equity means you're taking it out of your pocket or out of assets that are already performing for you.
Okay. So close. Very close. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. So to expand on what Bill said a little bit, the debt part, absolutely right. So debt financing is just a normal loan, right? So if you're looking to do a deal and I were to lend you the money to do the deal, I'm charging you interest on that money, and you have to pay me back in monthly payments typically, and you have to pay me back everything that I lent you eventually plus interest for as long as you have the money for it, right? So that's debt financing, just a normal loan, regular mortgage or any other kind of loan, right? Debt financing. Everybody good on that? Equity financing, to expand a little bit, so what you said is correct, Bill. Equity financing, as we see it, is not even using your own money. So if you're using equity financing, you're using other people's money and putting them in an equity position in the deal. Right? So instead of them lending you the money to do the deal, they invest the money with you. They do what? Invest the money with you. The difference is either they lend you money or they invest with you. Right? So an equity partner would invest with you, and then they're sharing in the upside, but they're also sharing in the downside. Right? So they're sharing in both. If the deal goes south, their money's at risk, and you don't have to pay them back like you do with a regular loan, right? Because they're a partner in the deal. Everybody got that? Any questions on that so far? Any questions? Andy, you taking a selfie? All right. Okay. All right, so let's move on here. So what do we have on the screen now? What is it? A skeleton. This is not a trick question. That is a skeleton. And what is a skeleton? What is a skeleton? Well, a skeleton is the body part that forms the supporting structure of an organism, right? So our human bodies have the shape that they have, and we're able to walk and move and do all the things we can do with our human bodies because we have a skeleton, right? We have the supporting structure that creates our body, shape and functionality, right? So same as a human body and any other organism's body has a skeleton, every single deal you ever do for income also has a skeleton. It has a supporting structure, okay? And we call it the basic deal structure. The basic deal structure. It's made up of leverage, spread, and this red squiggly line that's going through the middle is income volatility. Okay? Income volatility. So this is the supporting structure for every single deal you will ever do for passive income. This is the foundation. So let's expand on this a little bit. So leverage and spread, as you see it here, right? You see the leverage and the spread in the basic deal structure. The way I want you to think of leverage and spread are deal dials. What are they? Deal dials. So think of it like this. It's an analogy. So if you're driving a car, when you drive a car and you want to go faster, what do you have to do? You have to press on the gas pedal, right? And if you ease up on the gas pedal, you're going to go slower. And you have this thing in your car, the dashboard, which is your speedometer and your tachometer, your gauges, right? To show you how fast you're going and how fast the engine is revving, right? But you can't just reach into the dashboard of your car and with your hand move the speedometer to go faster and slower, right? You have to press down on the gas pedal to do that, right? So the same thing with a passive income deal. Okay, the analogy is these deal dials, leverage and spread, these dials are like your gas pedal in your car. Okay? And return and risk, those are your results. That's your dashboard. Okay? So when you're doing a deal for income, who cares about return? Okay. Only like half of you. Wow. All right. We got a long way to go. All right. So who cares about risk? Yeah. So when you're doing a deal for income, or any deal really, but here we're talking about doing deals for income, passive income, right? You want to, return and risk are your results. That's what you're looking for. That's what you want to figure out when you're putting the deal together. What is my return and what is the risk of this deal, right? You want to be able to calculate that stuff. And the way that you adjust the return and the risk of your deals is by adjusting leverage and adjusting spread. That's how you change your results, the return and the risk, by adjusting these dials. These two dials change all the results. Okay? Any questions on that? Any questions on that piece? Okay. All right, good. So again, here we have the basic deal structure. Leverage and spread of your dials. Return and risk of your results up here on top. And you have this red squiggly line, which is income volatility going right through the middle. Okay? And this is the basic deal structure that we're going to be working with. All right, so that is the foundation of the formula, of the wealthy code. Okay? So now let's talk about spread. Let's talk about this thing called spread, which is the whole dial by itself, right? The spread dial. So what is spread? What is spread? Let's look at a scenario here and walk you through the scenario to explain what spread actually means. So let's use an example. Let's say you walk into a store like Target, right? So you walk into Target, and right in front of you is a table with all these black boxes on it. And these black boxes cost $12,000 to buy, and they'll spit out $100 every month. So you pay $12,000 for the box, and every month you get $100. You don't have $12 grand to buy the box yourself. So what you do is go to your Uncle Andy, and you say, Uncle Andy, I know you have 12 grand sitting in the bank, and it's just doing nothing. It's earning less than 1%. So I have a deal for you. I want to borrow $12,000 from you to go buy this black box. And what I'll do is I'll pledge this black box as collateral against the loan. So if I don't pay you, you can just take the black box back, okay? And I'll borrow $12,000 from you, pledge the black box as collateral, and I'll pay you $50 a month, okay? So Uncle Andy says, sounds great. Let's do it. Here's the 12 grand. So you borrow the money, the 12,000, you go back to Target, you buy the black box, you take it home, you put it on your shelf, and now every month that black box spits out a $100 bill, right? So again, the black box pays you $100, you turn around and pay your uncle $50, so what is your spread? What's your spread? $50, right? $50, excellent. So here you're making a $50 spread, okay? And what we have here is we have an income-producing asset, the black box. That's your income-producing asset. And then you have leverage. You have what? Let me hear you loud. Leverage. You have leverage, right? Borrowed money. Over here in the form of a loan from your uncle. So you need two things for passive income. You need two things for passive income. You need an income-producing asset, and you need leverage. Right? You need an income-producing asset, and you need leverage. And a spread is also, you might hear the word arbitrage. Who's heard the word arbitrage? Yeah, so basically interchangeable. Arbitrage means the same thing as spread, okay? And what we call this is a wealth pair. What do we call it? We call this a wealth pair. A wealth pair. When you have an income-producing asset and leverage, and you're making a positive spread, passive income, it's called a wealth pair, right? A wealth pair. All right, so I'm gonna give you another example of spread, but I'm gonna put this in a little bit of a different format than the last example, okay? So in this example, you have an income-producing asset that's paying you 10%. You have leverage that you're paying 6%. So what's your spread in this example? 4%, right? Excellent. 4%. So you're making a 4% spread here. So my question for you is this, and I'm going to introduce a couple of potentially new terms for you, so pay close attention to this piece. So over here you have an income-producing asset, but it's paying you 10%. Right? The last example was clear as paying you a dollar amount, but now we're saying it's paying you 10%. So what is this 10%? What is that metric that you use to measure the income from an income-producing asset? Who knows what that metric is called? Just shout it out if you know. It's not ROI. Not profit. Not return. It's not income. And these are all right around it, but there's a term that many of you, I'm sure, have heard. But not margin, not cash on cash return. Who said it? Not cash flow. So this is a cap rate. Cap rate, right? A capitalization rate is the long form of the word, but in the industry, you just hear cap rate. Okay? And a cap rate is very simply a measure of your net income coming from an asset. Cap rate is a measure of the net income. It's a measure of what? The net income. Okay? Coming from an asset. As it relates to the price of the asset, right? So really, very simply, you take your net income, you divide it by the price of the asset, and that's your cap rate. Right? So if you have an asset that's bringing in $10,000 a year in income, net income, after expenses, before debt service, but after operating expenses, and it's a $100,000 asset, so $10,000 a year net income, $100,000 asset, what would the cap rate be? 10%, right? 10%. 10,000 divided by 100,000, 10%. Okay? That's not to get too deep into the formula and calculating cap rate, but just important that you know, when you're looking at income producing assets, the way you measure the income is with a cap rate, okay? That's how you measure your income from the asset, all right? Now how about on this side, on the leverage side? This says you're paying your money source 6%. What is that metric? What is the 6%? When you borrow money, how do you measure what you're paying to your lender? It's not interest. Well, debt service would be the dollar amount. What did you say back here? So mortgage would be the instrument, but to measure the actual payment. So interest is just measuring the interest you're paying, right? But you have this thing, if you're paying principal back too, if it's an amortizing loan, and you're paying back principal and interest, how do you measure, what's the metric you'd use to measure your total payments that are going towards that debt?
Yield.
It's not yield. So debt service is the dollar amount, but when you put it in the form of a percentage, it's called as a loan constant. It's a loan constant. Okay, that's your passive income in your pocket. Okay? So any questions on this? Any questions? Okay. So again, you have a cap rate, you have an asset that's paying you, you measure what you're getting paid from the asset by a cap rate, you have leverage that you're paying money to, because you borrowed money, you measure that with a loan constant, and what you have in the middle is your spread. Okay? What you have in the middle is your spread. Now obviously, you want to maximize your spread. What do you want to do with the spread? You want to maximize it, right? The bigger your spread, the safer the deal is going to be. Okay? And the way you maximize your spread is you get your cap rate as high as you can get it, and you get your loan constant as low as you can get it when you're putting deals together for income. Okay? So what does that mean exactly? Get your loan constant as low as you can get it. It means you choose the loan option that's going to have the lowest loan constant, right? So let me give you guys a little example of this up here. Let me give you a little example, just to give you a visual of the power of loan constant. Let me get 3 volunteers just to come up to the front real quick. 3 volunteers. Not everybody all at once. Don't make me feel too low. Bill, come on up. Yeah, don't make me pick on you. All right, so we got 4. Yep. Yeah, we're going to do an exercise at the end, and we'll have you come up for that, all right, Rob? All right, thanks. Mario, thank you. How do I say the name? Nation. Nation? Thanks, Nation. Bill? All right. Let's give these guys a round of applause. All right, so just a little example to show you loan constant and how loan constant comes into play when you're putting your deals together for income, okay? So what am I showing you here? Loan constant, right? All right, so let's say I have a deal. I find an asset that I want to invest into, an income-producing asset, okay? And I need a $100,000 loan in order to do the deal. So I go to all 3 of these guys, and I apply for a $100,000 loan, and they all approve me, okay? So they all say, yep, we'll lend you the $100,000, and all 3 of them say $100,000, and we'll charge you 10% interest, right? So how much is the interest? 10% for all 3 of them. So far, are all 3 of these loans the same? They're all identical at this point, right? Okay, so Bill is willing to lend me $100,000 at 10% interest, and he says, you know what? I'm not worried about you paying down the principal. Let's make this an interest-only loan. All you have to pay me is $10,000 a year in payments. Right? So what are my payments to Bill? $10,000 a year, right? So $10,000 a year is what I have to pay to Bill. And let's assume there's no prepayment penalty for any of these 3 loans, okay? Now Nation, he wants me to pay this loan off as quickly as possible. So he says, Paul, I'll lend you the $100,000. The interest rate will be 10%, but I'm going to need you to make a minimum of $24,000 in payments per year. Okay? So $24,000 a year are my payments to Nation. All right? Now Mario, on the other hand, he's okay with his money being out for as long as it needs to be out, and he's actually okay with the amount that I owe him growing and growing and growing. Okay? So Mario says, I'll lend you $100,000, 10% interest rate, All you have to pay me is $1,000 a year. The other $9,000 in interest each year, we'll just add it to the top of the loan if you only pay $1,000, okay? It's a neg-am loan, negative amortizing loan, right? You used to see them quite often, you don't really see them anymore. For good reason. But again, we're just giving you guys an example here, right? We're giving you guys an example here. So which loan do you choose? Who says they go with Bill's loan, interest only? Okay? Who says they go with Nation's loan, amortizing, get that debt paid off, get it paid down, get rid of it? And who would go with Mario's loan, $1,000 a year in payments? Okay. All right, so I mean, that was pretty even across the board throughout the room. I'd say we had an even number picking each of these three loans. So let me ask you a couple of questions. If I were to go with Bill's loan, and I have a good year, right? Maybe I wholesale a property or flip a property, or maybe I just come into a chunk of money. Maybe the asset is really performing better than I thought it would, and I have some extra cash. Can I pay Bill $24,000 a year if I want to? Again, no prepayment penalty. Can I pay him $24,000? Can I pay him $50,000? Can I pay him whatever I want? But I have to pay a minimum of $10,000, right? But I can match what Nation's loan is, right? Now, if I go with Nation's loan and I have to pay $24,000 a year for Nation's loan, that's my minimum required payment. If I have a really bad year, maybe I lose my job, maybe the asset stops performing. Whatever it is, I run into some financial troubles. And does that happen in the real world? Yeah, you better believe it does. Unforeseen things come up all the time. Hiccups, we call them, right? But hiccups can take you out. They can wipe out your whole portfolio if you don't have it structured the right way. So with Nation's loan, if I go with Nation's loan, and I'm obligated to make $24,000 a year in payments, what happens if I have one of those hiccups for a few months and I can't make those payments? What's going to happen to the asset? Bye-bye. Nation now is going to own that asset that I probably put a sizable down payment to buy that asset. Down payment's gone, it's all gone, because I can't make my payments, right? So what about with Mario over here? What about with Mario? $1,000 a year in payments. Again, if I have even if I'm doing okay and in a decent spot, can I pay him the $10,000 a year just to pay the interest each year and keep the loan amount the same? Can I pay him $24,000 or $50,000? I can pay him whatever I want, right? But the thing with Mario's loan is, if I run into a hiccup, I have the flexibility. I have the what? I have the flexibility to only pay him $1,000 a year if I need to. Now, is there a good chance if I run into some trouble and run into some problems that I can come up with less than $100 a month to make my loan payments to Mario and not lose the asset? Yes, right? So what I'm showing you all here is the power of the metric loan constant when you're putting your deals together for income, okay? This is showing you the difference between just the payments that I'm obligated to make, same loan as far as the amount and the interest rate, but different loan constants, because I have different payments that I'm obligated to make to each one of those loans, right? And the difference here is with Nation, high obligation. High obligation. High what? Obligation. With Mario, I have high flexibility, right? So the distinction here and the powerful point here from learning about loan constant is, and everybody write this down, obligation versus flexibility. Obligation versus flexibility. And when you're putting your deals together for income, my friends, you want to have and give yourself the most flexibility possible. So when things come up, something unforeseen, you have the flexibility and you don't lose the asset. Okay? How many people in this room have ever lost a property? Yeah, a number of you. Me too. And you know what? How many of you value sleep? Yeah. When you're in the process of losing an asset, you lose a lot of sleep too. And the impact on your life your overall life is tremendous. Tremendous. So the name of the game is you want to keep your assets protected, you want to keep them safe, and one way to keep them safe is by putting your deals together and choosing the loan option with the lowest loan constant. Now, do you want to go out and search for neg-am loans? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you want to know all of your loan options that you have access to when you're putting a deal together, and you want to choose the one with the lowest loan constant. Okay? Because most people are out there choosing loans with the lowest interest rate. Because that's what they've learned, that's what they've been taught, that's what they think is the thing to do. Search for a loan with the lowest interest rate, right? But you can get yourself crushed if you do that. Okay? So let's give these guys a round of applause. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Okay. So was that helpful? Was that helpful to see how loan constant comes into play? Okay. All right, good. So the key lesson here for module number 1, on spreads, is to generate a spread. To generate a spread, you need an income-producing asset and leverage. And the cap rate, for the way you measure the income, must be larger than the loan constant. How you measure your payments to the leverage, right? The difference between the cap rate and the loan constant is the passive income in your pocket, right? The difference between the cap rate and the loan constant, that's your passive income. Okay? That's a wealth pair. So any questions on this? Question? I thought I saw your hand up. All right, any questions? Are you guys getting this? Okay. Good stuff so far? Yes. Okay, good. All right, so you notice I say that this is module 1. So tonight, in the 90 minutes that I have here, I'm going to go through 2 modules with you guys. At the weekend workshop this weekend, which I'm sure you're all aware of, we're doing a full 2-day workshop this weekend. We have tons of modules we're going to go through with you guys, a whole bunch of them. And basically the way it works, the way the training works, is each module, the modules build and build and build on the ones before. And eventually we get to a point where you see the whole picture, right? And you see how all the pieces fit together and how to structure your deals like the very best in the world. But right now we're starting out with the basics, right? We're giving you the very basics tonight in the first 2 modules, which are valuable by themselves, but you really need to see how it all fits together to really learn how to structure your deals like the best, okay? So that's module 1. Again, back to the basic deal structure here. Leverage and spread and income volatility. And what we just learned is that the spread is the difference between the cap rate and the loan constant, right? That's the spread, the difference between the cap rate and the loan constant. And again, you want the widest spread possible in your deals. That's the goal when you're putting deals together for income. The biggest spread possible. Okay? All right, so now that you know what you know, now that you've learned that little bit of information, let's take a look again at these sample deals. And somebody before said we don't have enough information to make the decision, and you're absolutely right, whoever said that, because we didn't put the loan constant on here for the loan options, right? So I'm going to put that on the screen right now. So up on the screen we have these 5 loan options, A through E, and we put the loan constants down here in red. Okay? So now that you've learned what you've learned about how to choose the right loan to make the deal as safe as possible, which loan option would you choose? Shout it out. C. C, right? C. Loan option C, because it has the lowest loan constant. It has the lowest loan constant. You know what's interesting about this? Which of these has the lowest interest rate? Right, A, and that also has the highest loan constant, right? And which has the highest interest rate? C, and it also has the lowest loan constant. So you see how choosing your loans when you're putting your deals together just based on interest rate alone, it can get you hurt. It can really get you hurt. And that's how most people choose their loans, is by interest rate, right? All right, so that's the spread. Now let's talk about the down payment. Let's talk about the down payment. How am I doing on time?
Good.
Good?
This is great, they all done.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. All right, let's talk about the down payment, structuring the down payment. It's module 2. So basically, there are 3 main components to any deal, right? You have the asset side, over here on the left. It's an income-producing asset. What kind of asset? Income-producing asset, right? And then on the money side of the equation, you have leverage, which we've been talking about as borrowed money, right? Debt. But then you also have this thing that you have to put these days, not like 10 years ago, but nowadays in this market, you have to put a down payment if you want to borrow someone's money, right? Which is a good thing. It's a good thing. So you have to put a down payment to get the leverage. So let's talk about the down payment and how to structure it. So the question is, what's the safest way to structure a down payment? What's the safest way? Now there are 3 main options. 3 main options. There are more than 3, but there are 3 main options when it comes to structuring a down payment. They are using your money, down here on the bottom, using an equity partner, so raising money from somebody and putting them as an equity partner in the deal, and they put the money up for the down payment, or borrowing the money as debt, so using debt financing for the down payment. So which of these, what's the order of this, from safest to most risky? What's the order? Well, let's take a look. So the safest way to structure your down payment is to use an equity partner. To use an equity partner. The next safest way is to use your money. And the most risky way to structure your down payment is to borrow it as debt. Borrow it as debt. Why is that? Why is debt the most risky way to structure it? It affects your spread. So, when you have, if you were borrowing the money for the down payment as debt, and then you had the rest borrowed money as leverage, how much debt do you have relative to the total amount you need for the deal? 100%, right? If you're borrowing the down payment as debt, and then you're borrowing the rest of the money as debt, you're all debt. It's 100% debt. So what happens if the more debt you have, the more payments you have to make, and you're collateralizing the asset against those loans and you can't make the payments? The asset's at higher risk, right? What happens if you're at 100% debt and the market declines a little bit? You're in trouble, you're underwater, right? What happens if you buy, let's say, an apartment building, right? You buy an apartment building and you can expect around a 5% vacancy rate, nationwide average for apartment buildings, right? What happens if you use 100% debt? You get leverage and then you raise capital from a private lender, and they lend you the money for the down payment to buy that apartment building. So you're now at 100% debt. And what happens if you get another 5% vacancy? You're in a negative cash flow position at that point, right? So having that equity in a deal, having that equity in an asset is incredibly important. Now, you could use your money, but if you have, let's say, I don't know, 50,000, 100,000, somewhere in that range of money, and that's all the money you have, the best place for your money is actually sitting in a bank account. The best place for your money is actually sitting in a bank account. Why is that? Because if you use your money, if you take 50 grand and that's all the money you have, and you invest it as a down payment into a deal, is there anything else you can do with that money? Or is it locked up in that asset? You'd have to sell the asset or refinance it to get the money back, right? And if you take all your money and invest it into a deal, what happens if you run into one of those hiccups? What happens if, you have to do some repairs to that asset and you don't have the money to do it? You're in trouble, right? And the thing is, if you have some sum of money, like 50 to 100 grand, and you have it in a bank account, you could actually do multiple deals with that money when you learn how to raise capital. Because you could go raise money from equity partners, use that money as down payments, And because you have this money sitting in a bank account, banks or lenders will be willing to lend you money because you have a pretty good chunk of reserves, right? You have money to cover the loans and the payments, and you have money to cover anything that might come up with those assets. And you could actually do multiple deals with that chunk of money, whereas if you invest it into a deal, it's gone. It's locked up. It's tied up. Nothing else you can do with it, right? So again, the safest way to structure the down payment is to use an equity partner. And that's because they share in the upside. They're going to get a piece of the profit. They get a piece of the return. But if the deal goes south, if something happens and the deal goes bad, is it your money at risk or is it the equity partner's money at risk? It's the equity partner's money, right? Because it's their money being used for the down payment. Now they understand that when they invest their money into the deal, right? It's part of investing. They're doing it for the return. But when you learn how to structure deals the right way, the correct way, you can put the deals together in such a way that you can put your equity partners at ease and let them know that you're putting the deal together in the safest way possible to protect their investment, right? And you're both getting the return that you want to get out of the deal, okay? And you can do those deals all day long. And you're not limited by how much capital you have to invest in that down payment position. All right, you guys getting that? Okay, any questions on that? Any questions? Okay, all right. So leverage basics, leverage basics. Leverage is debt, right? Leverage is what? Leverage is debt, borrowed money. When we say leverage, we're talking about borrowed money as debt. All right, so leverage basics. The more debt you have, the higher your return will be, but also the higher your risk will be, right? Just the basics of leverage. When you use more borrowed money and less of your own money, your return's going to go up. All right, and a lot of investors are solely focused on getting the highest return they can get without looking at risk. Because most investors don't know how to quantify risk. They don't know how to measure it. They know how to measure return, but they don't know how to measure risk. So they're just pumping the highest return they can get out of these deals and making these deals incredibly risky by doing that. Because they're using a lot of borrowed money, a lot of debt, more than they should be. Right? So again, the more debt you have, the higher your return will be, but also the higher your risk will be. And we've talked about that a little bit here tonight already. Why when you have more debt, you have more payments to make, the asset's at higher risk, right, of getting taken, but you're also at higher risk of being in a negative cash flow position on that asset because you have more payments to make. You're closer to your break-even point as you're adding more and more debt into a deal. So again, like with an apartment building example, if a couple people move out, you might be in a negative cash flow position because you have too much debt. But if you have the right amount of equity and then the right amount of debt, you can afford some fluctuation in the cash flow, right? Which is that red squiggly line that we were talking about, that income volatility. That's your income volatility. That's how much does the income fluctuate, okay? All right, so let's look at a couple examples here. You have a deal paying you 10% cap rate, 10% cap rate, and you want to compare down payment options. So which would you pick? Which would you pick? You have Sam, who's willing to invest the down payment to be a 50% partner in the deal. And then you have John, who's willing to lend you the money for the down payment at an 8% loan constant. Who do you guys go with? Sam, right? Sam, equity partner. It's the safer option. It's the safer option. Okay. So, key lesson here for Module 2. The safer way to structure a down payment is to use an equity partner. Okay? Pretty simple. Pretty simple. Yet, most people don't structure their down payments that way. All right? But it's a simple concept to understand. So now, let's take a look. Actually, let's look at the deal here again. So, you have leverage and spread in the basic deal structure. This red squiggly line, that's your income volatility again. How does the income fluctuate? Month to month, year to year. The spread is the difference between the cap rate and the loan constant. We learned that in Module 1. And now in Module 2, we just brought in this down payment piece, right? The down payment piece. And obviously, the more down payment you have, as long as it's an equity position down payment, it's going to decrease the amount of leverage you need to use for that deal, which will decrease the amount of risk in the deal, right? Because is less leverage is, am I cutting in and out here? No. Less leverage is less risk, right? So the more down payment you use, the less your risk will be in that deal. Okay? All right, so let's go back now to our sample deal again. And now that you guys know what you know, which of those 6 options are you going to choose for the down payment? Let me hear it. Shout it out. 6, right? 6. So now, again, in less than an hour of training here tonight, every single one of you can look at this sample deal exercise, and within a few seconds, you'd be able to pick out and say, the best way to structure this deal to make it as safe as possible is C6. It's what? C6. C6. So how does it feel to all be on the same page? Compared to having every single combination possible in a room, right? To all be looking at this and comparing apples to apples and know the strategy and know the technique and know what is the right way to do this. What's the correct way to do this? To make this deal as safe as possible and to know it quickly by looking at it. That these are not complicated concepts to understand. The problem is just most people have never learned them. Were never taught them. I know I didn't learn them until I came across George in this training. Just like most people. All right? So you guys all get this? Okay, question?
So how would you determine the low cost?
Yeah. So great question. What's your name?
Angie?
Angie. So Angie said, how do you determine the loan constant? Excellent question. It's a very simple formula. So the loan constant formula, if you guys want to write this down, and it's in the Wealthy Code book as well. But just write loan constant equals, and we're using an annual loan constant. So we're using an annual cap rate and an annual loan constant. So to calculate the loan constant, you just take the annual principal and interest payments. So in these examples up front, those were annual payments, right? $10,000, $24,000, $1,000. And you divide it by the loan amount. So you just divide the annual payments by the loan amount, and that's your loan constant. It's really simple. So in these examples up here, because they were $100,000 loans, nice round numbers to use. If you take 100,000 divided by 10,000, what's your loan constant? I'm sorry, 10,000 divided by 100,000. 10%, right? What about 24,000 divided by 100,000? 24%, and then 1%, right? So the loan constants in these 3 examples are 10%, 24%, 1%. Annual principal and interest divided by the loan amount. Okay? All right. Any other questions? Yeah.
Why did you say you guys just forcing going out and buying a negative advertising loan? Like, why wouldn't that be the thing?
Well,
You repeat the question?
so the question was, why would I say don't go out and try to find negative advertising loans? You can't even find them anymore. I mean, they're so rare and so hard to find. If you can find one and you decide you want to use it, go for it. I'm not saying don't use it. I'm just saying don't rush out and start saying, I only want to use neg-am loans, right? The key lesson is, and what's your name? Jennifer? So Jennifer, the key lesson is search all of your loan products that you can get approved for. You want to know all the different loan options you have. And you as the investor want to be educated enough to know that you want to choose the loan that is going to have the lowest loan constant, whatever that might be. But the thing is, you also have to have the discipline. You have to have the what? The discipline. If you choose an interest-only loan, or you choose, if you can find a neg-am loan and you go choose that, you have to have the discipline to make the payments that you want to make. And you're going to learn in the workshop. You'll learn how to calculate the right amount of payment that you want to make. Right? What's the optimal amount? So if you have a really low loan constant, like a neg-am loan, like this example, I'm not saying that you want to only make $1,000 payments a year. There's the right balance that you want to have between. So you ultimately, the goal is you want to have the right balance, the right what? Let me hear you guys. The right what? The right balance, thank you, between return and risk, right? Those are the results of your deal. If you remember the basic deal structure, the results are your return and your risk. And the goal is to have the right balance between the two. And what's the right balance? There's no one answer to that question. That's different for every single investor, right? Everybody gets to determine for themselves what's the right balance that they want to have between return and risk based on your risk tolerance, based on what return do you want to get out of your investment, or does your equity partners want to get from the investment, right? But you have to learn how to calculate the whole thing, and that's what I'm saying we're building towards, you all being able to see the big picture of how it all fits together so that you can know how to do it all and how to plug it all in and how to calculate everything so that you can structure your deals the right way. And you can have the right amount of leverage and you can have the right amount of spread so you know that the deal is going to work for you and for everybody else involved in it. Right?
How do you build in the terms? When you feel us up there, we had a basically 1% per year payment. But more than likely, you come up with something like that in the real world, there is a call term somewhere in there that says that at some point I'm going to call the note, or you're going to have to money up X percent.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of, obviously, different loan options out there, you know, ARMs with balloon payments and everything else like that, right? So at the end of the day, Bill, to answer that question, really what that comes down to is what's your exit strategy for that asset? How long are you going to be in that asset for? If you're going to be in it for 3 years, then you're going to choose different loan options. But that's part of the big picture that we're building towards. So I don't want to go too far, but the short answer there is really the exit strategy. Right? So for this example we gave, it was a 10-year buy and hold, right? But great question. Great question. Yeah.
How do you, I guess I wonder when you get into a situation with an equity partner, how do we manage that partner's expectations appropriately?
So great question. What's your name?
Nancy.
Nancy, great question. So Nancy's question was, when you get involved in an equity partnership position, you know, a situation, how do you manage that equity partner's expectations? So the short answer is, and I just don't have time to dive into all those details here tonight because that's a pretty deep rabbit hole. But the short answer is, it's all through communication. So when you're working with equity partners, you establish relationships with people, and you build partnerships and you build relationships just like anything else. And it all happens through effective communication, really. You know, you set expectations up front, and you find out from those equity partners what do they want, what are they looking for, what is their risk tolerance, and you're gonna match them up with the right deals for them and put them into the right deals as you come across them, right? And that's the short answer of how do you manage those expectations. It's just all through really effective communication. And obviously you want to have effective partnership agreements and you know, you want to have things in writing and signed and everything else, but really through communication.
You can't overpromise, you can't attract them if you underpromise. I don't know, it seems like it's tricky.
To me, the answer is always being authentic and being in integrity and being honest and just having straightforward communication with people is going to be, that's the long-term, that's the model for long-term success, right? So, but you obviously have to know what you're talking about before you start engaging people in those conversations. So learning how to structure your deals correctly, which hopefully you all see the importance of that at this point, is the first thing. And then, back to that top-tier investor triangle that we referred to earlier. So learning how to structure your deals correctly is step one. That's the foundation. Then, whatever assets you choose to invest in, each of you as investors, you have to go learn and get training and really get proficient at that asset. Because once you learn how to structure the deals correctly and you really learn the asset side of the equation of the triangle, then you know both components and then you can go have really powerful conversations with potential equity partners that you're raising money from. And you can know that what you're sharing with them and what you're telling them is legit. Right? Make sense? Okay. Yeah.
In the training, when you are going over how to write these proposals, where you can attract investors?
So the question was, in the training, are we going to go over how to write these proposals? So what we're going to do in the training is you're going to learn how to structure the financing for your deals together. And on day 2 at the workshop, On the second day, like half of day 2, day 1 is basically all these modules and all this information and all this training that's building and building and building. Then day 2 at the workshop, you guys are all going to be in groups and teams, and you're going to work on structuring some really complex deals, and each team will present their deals to the class. So a big part of being effective at raising capital is knowing how to present your deals to people, right? So yeah, we will be covering that, and you guys, more than just showing you how to do it, we're going to have you doing it. We're going to have you doing it yourselves, okay? All right, so let me move on here, guys. All right, so that's the down payment piece. Now, let's have some fun. Let's have you guys learn from doing a little bit more, okay? So now, Rock, where's Rock? Did Rock leave? He left? Oh, Rock, all right. All right, well, I can't save a spot for him, but I need 8 volunteers to come on to the front. 8 volunteers. 8 volunteers. Come on up. Don't be shy. Okay. And you guys can just actually line up. I'm trying to think of the best spot for you to line up so you're not getting blinded by the projector. Let's have you, can you guys see if they're lined up here, will you be able to see over there? If not, just reposition yourselves a little bit. But go ahead and just line up here in front of this table. What's that? Missing 2? Okay, we need 2 more.
Come on.
2 more. All right, thank you. All right. Okay, let's give these 8 fine young people a round of applause. A louder round of applause than that, come on. Give them some love, give them some love. All right, you can actually, Marcus, just slide over a little bit. It's okay if you're blocking the screen.
3 of these people are new tonight. That's pretty cool.
Oh, awesome, awesome. All right, so we have 8 people up here. And what we're going to do is, you guys are all going to work together, the whole room, on structuring a deal, okay? I put you in the light there, sorry. Okay, so Marcus is going to be the asset, okay? And the asset is a $100,000 asset at an 8% cap rate, okay? What's the cap rate? 8%. 8%. There you go, Marcus. Ebony. Okay, Ebony is going to be a down payment option, all right? So basically we have an asset, we're going to have 4 different down payment options and 3 leverage options, okay? So Ebony will be a $20,000 down payment at a 4.5% HELOC. What's a HELOC? Home equity line of credit, excellent. Those are typically interest only, those loan products. So 4.5% HELOC. Now, Andy's going to be a $20,000 down payment using your cash for the deal, all right? You got the 20, don't take off on us now with the 20,000 cash, all right? All right, and Nancy is going to be $20,000 down payment at a 50% equity ownership position, all right? Jerome's going to be $20,000 down payment at a 5% loan constant, okay? 5% loan constant. So those are your down payment options. Now Bill is going to be $20,000 of leverage at a 5.2% loan constant. Okay, 5.2%. Mario is going to be $30,000 of leverage at 5.8% loan constant. And Patrick will be $80,000 of leverage at a 5.5% loan constant. Okay, 5.5%. You have that handheld mic, Andy? Okay, I need 1 more volunteer. Is Rock back yet?
No.
Okay. 1 more volunteer. Come on up. Who wants to come on up? Help me out. All right, give him a round of applause, everybody. What's the name? Chatham. You didn't know that I was going to give you the mic, did you? Sorry about that, buddy. But I appreciate you volunteering. All right, man. So, guys, this is not about putting Chatham on the spot, okay? It's not what this is about at all. What this is about is all of you working together to figure out the best answer for this problem, okay? So Chatham, the way this is going to work, you're going to be the spokesperson, basically, for the room. So you're going to get feedback from everybody, and you can contribute your thoughts as well. And everybody up front here, you can contribute your thoughts as well, okay? But you're going to be the spokesperson for everybody. And the way that the rules of the game are this. So you have one asset, right? So you want to structure the safest deal possible for this $100,000 asset, 8% capture. The rules are you have to pick one and only one of the red cards. Okay? So one and only one. And you can pick one or more of the green loan options, leverage options. Okay? So those are the rules. I'm going to the bar. I'm out of here. May the force be with you, Chatham. Let me know when you got the right answer.
All right.
No, I'll be right here, but it's up to you.
Okay. So I guess let's start by taking a poll of the room on what people, I don't know, by a show of hands, would you go for the HELOC option? Anybody?
What's the term?
Interest only. 4.5% interest
I
only.
mean, how long of a holding of the property?
Oh, yeah.
Let's just say it's interest only for the whole term of the, for as long as you're holding.
So what's the exit strategy?
Just say it's a 5 year.
10 plus year.
Just say 5 years, yeah.
Okay, 5-year rental property.
Yep.
All right. So anybody going for the HELOC? Nobody? Nobody's in all. Cash only from the personal buyer of the property. Whoever's
When it says my only cash, is it that's
Oh,
the
no, no,
cash
no,
the
no.
person has, or is it my cash only, nobody else involved?
Yeah, that's your only cash.
Oh, no,
That's everything and everything you got.
no.
All right. 50% split of the equity with the partners.
Oh, yeah.
Half of it is mine. And a 20% down payment, 5% loan constant. Nobody?
Sorry. All right, so we got
I feel like we figured out the down payment.
we got the down payment lockdown, right? So why doesn't everybody else besides Nancy just turn those cards down? Yeah, there we go. So we're good on the down payment. Now let's figure out the loan here.
Okay, so which leaves us with maybe $80,000, which Patrick had a good option, right, at 5.5%. Is that a good option for anybody else here?
Well, how much do we need?
So you need 80,000. Here's another rule too. So just to share this with you guys, you have to come up with exactly $100,000. Okay? Exactly 100,000.
Yeah, so
Can they do multiples of any one of these cards to get
No.
to the answer? Okay.
You can only use each card one time.
Okay.
all right, yeah, which leaves the other two kind of mute. We'll see, unless I miss something. All right, then who would go for the 30,000 at 5.8 loan constant? Not for anybody at all. And then Bill with 20,000 at 5.2% loan constant. Gonna be a one. Gonna be a winner. You better smile, so you're nervous. So really, I actually don't know where to go from here.
Okay. Does anybody have any thoughts on what's the best way to structure the loan? Go ahead and just shout it out and let Chatham know.
We need a total of 100,000. What's the interest rate on yours?
Chaos ensues.
Can we go to Nancy more than once?
No. You can only use each card one time.
So only one.
I got an idea.
One leverage card.
So Bill's got an idea.
Use all of our equity people, and this possibly will work. Well, that would be 80,000 on the.
You can only use
Oh,
only
yeah,
use,
20.
you can only use one of those red cards. Good idea. I like it, but you can only use one red card.
Not good enough for that option.
Chatham, did you have an idea?
No, so I'm just gonna.
There's only one option.
I mean, that seems like
Our
the
rules
only
that you have to
option.
come up with 100,000.
I mean, Patrick and her down payment, let's do their work.
So I'm going to let you guys be with this for a little bit because there is, so sometimes in life, and especially in investing, you have to get creative and think outside the box, right? So look for the possible solutions here with how can you create the loan to have the lowest loan constant possible.
I have an idea, I'm not sure if it'll hunt. You take Andy and you take Nancy,
You take Andy, you take Nancy.
So, let me
Take
just
these two notes.
stop here. So you can only use
Only
only one of the red cards. So we're good here. So the only options right now are how can we create the lowest combined loan constant with the loans we have right here, and come up with exactly $100,000.
You said you can choose more than one of the.
You can share multiple partners.
Yeah, you can
But the problem
choose more than
is,
one leverage.
you can't do,
use all
the easy answer would be 4 of mine,
Right.
Yeah.
mathematically.
I love the thought,
But
but
you
that's,
can't do it by your rules.
can't do it.
Could you only get 60,000 on this guy right here, and then use
Okay.
the other 20,000 right here?
So what was that again?
Get 60,000 from a man, the gentleman on the far left,
Patrick?
and then 20,000 with the rest of the
Yeah.
20,000.
So why don't you share that with the room chat and see what everyone thinks of that.
So what?
So you get 60,000 from the gentleman on the my far left,
Oh.
and then you get 20,000 there. Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, you're not using the full asset, using only 60,000 from the 80,
Like 5.25.
using the 20,000
And it's still
from
goes
Bill
to
and the 20,000 from Nancy to get the whole 100,000.
What do you guys think of that idea? Who likes that? What's your name? What is it? Ricky? That's my brother's name. Hey, give Ricky a round of applause, everybody. Great job, man. Well done. So, you guys just hang out for a little bit. Chad, and you're off the hook. Great job. Give Chad a round of applause, everybody. Well done, Chad. Okay. So, the down payment part was easy, right? We know from what we learned tonight that using an equity partner is the safest way to structure the down payment. We're all good there. Now, you had some great ideas, can we multiply this by 4 to come up with it? It was outside of the rules of the game, so we couldn't. But what Ricky said is brilliant, right? Because it's outside the box thinking. You got approved for an $80,000 loan here, but if somebody approves you for an $80,000 loan, is there a really good chance that they'll still be willing to lend you $60,000 if you don't need the whole 80? Now, in the real world, would the terms change if they were in second position versus first position? Yeah, they would. But we're just doing an exercise here, right? So for the purpose of this exercise, assuming that the terms would stay the same, we use 60,000. Well, we use the 5.2 because it's the lowest, right? So Bill's 20,000 at 5.2. That's the lowest. Now, what are our other options here? So 5.5 is the next lowest. And if we only use 60,000 of this, by combining the 60,000 here with the 20,000 there, it's going to give us the lowest combined loan constant. The lowest what? Combined loan constant, right? And therefore, you're going to have the biggest spread in the deal between the 8% cap rate and the loan constant. And that's going to be the safest way to put this deal together. As a spread, yep. As a spread, exactly. But the thing is, when you're combining 60,000 at 5.5 with 20,000 at 2.2, it wouldn't come out to be exactly 5.35 because it's a weighted average, right? It's a what? It's a weighted average. So the 60,000 would carry more weight than the 20,000. So it'd be around probably 5.4-ish, somewhere in there. At the workshop, we give you guys calculators where you just get to plug in numbers for different loan options, and it'll give you the loan constants, and it'll give you combined loan constants and all that stuff. The calculators you get at the workshop are amazing. They're absolutely incredible tools to use. So, do you guys all get this?
Yes.
Was this good? Was this helpful? Give these guys a huge round of applause, everybody. Well done. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Nancy. Thank you, sir. Thanks. Okay. All right, so let's get to the conclusion. So again, the top-tier investor triangle, the 3 skills every investor needs to be a top-tier investor. Structuring deals correctly is the foundation. It's on the bottom. That's step 1. You have to learn that before you learn anything else. If not, you're putting yourself in trouble. All right, basic model for passive income. Income-producing asset, financial leverage, and a down payment. At the workshop this weekend, we're going to give you a checklist for each of these items, so that this way, any asset you're looking at and thinking about investing in, You run it through the checklist and see if it qualifies, see if it passes your test, right? And the asset, what we learned is you measure that with the cap rate, the income. The leverage you measure with the loan constant. And the down payment, you want it to be equity, an equity partner preference, right? So wealth pairs generate passive income. What generates passive income? Wealth pairs. You want to have a portfolio of these as an investor. So your goal is to have wealth pairs generating passive income structured to be low risk and as hassle-free as possible. Okay, low risk and as hassle-free as possible. Because who likes to deal with hassles? Nobody. Nobody. So you want to have the most hassle-free assets possible, right? All right, so let's talk about the importance of receiving the right training. Okay, the importance of receiving the right training. Our good old friend Homer Simpson, right? Nope, right? Am I stupid? It says on the bottom, and you know, this is actually a serious thing, because again, I travel all over the country and I constantly meet people that have invested a lot of time and a lot of energy into their education, and they're still struggling. And they ask me this question all the time. Am I stupid? Because I've done tons of training and I'm still not getting it. I'm not getting the results that I want to get, so something must be wrong with me, right? So what I say is a better question to ask yourself is, are you getting the wrong training? Don't ask yourself, are you stupid? Ask yourself, are you getting the wrong training? Right? There was an article done in Time magazine that shows why long lectures are ineffective. Why long lectures are ineffective, right? And we have up here on the screen something called the cone of learning. What is this called? Let me hear you guys loud. The cone of learning, right? If you've read Kiyosaki stuff, you're probably familiar with this, because he uses this a lot. And what this shows is that people generally remember 10% of what they read, 20% of what they hear, 30% of what they see, 50% of what they see and hear, and that's all passive learning. That's at the top here in passive learning, right? Once you go down to active learning, people remember 70% of what they say and write, and 90% of what they do. 90% of what they do. So was this helpful tonight? Was this good? Doing the role playing, doing the exercises, active learning, right? Learning by participating in your learning, not just by hearing somebody talking about something and nodding off the whole time, right? Even though I saw a couple of you nodding off, I'm not going to point any of you out. But so active learning, right? The cone of learning. Active learning is the way to go. You remember a lot more. So we don't do boring lectures. We don't do boring lectures. That's George Antone right there. No, just kidding. We do experiential training. We do experiential training. This is actually a Wealthy Code event, and you can see that they're sitting in a team, having a great time, having fun. They have a team name here. These cards that are on the table, they're working on putting together an incredibly advanced deal and having a great time doing it in a team setting, but they're learning from doing is what's important, right? They're participating in their learning through experience. We do role playing, like we did up here tonight. We do fun training. We like to have a good time. We like to joke around. We like to have fun, because you're going to learn a lot more when you're having fun too, right? We do group exercises. We do active learning. We do active learning. Okay? We are the leaders in experiential training for financial education. Impact Wealth, our company. That's why we've been recognized by Inc. 500 magazine 2 years in a row. We're doing it better than anybody else out there. So the question is, do you want to learn the fun way or do you want to learn the hard way? I choose the fun way, personally. I choose the fun way. So we have the workshop coming up this weekend right here at this location. We're not sure exactly what room, but it'll be here at the BWI Marriott. Let me share some testimonials with you guys, what some of our other students and other club owners that we've done this workshop with are saying about this training, about this 2-day workshop. Okay? This is from a woman, her name is Catherine Swanberg. She's the executive director of a real estate club in Seattle called REAPS, Real Estate Association of Puget Sound, which is probably the biggest real estate club in the whole country. They get about 250 people on average to their monthly meetings. And they bring in all the biggest names, and she's been running this club for 9 years. This woman's been running this club for 9 years, so she's seen everything under the sun come through as training for her members. Right? This is what she said about the Wealthy Code Workshop. She said, I just spent 2 days at the Wealthy Code Workshop and was blown away by concepts I have never heard before that were quite advanced. But they were presented in such a simplified manner that my students, my members, were really impacted. She said, I host a lot of events at REAPS, and I think this training is fundamental and missing, is a fundamental and missing piece that is not discretionary to the investment you make in your education. Right? It is not discretionary to the investment you make in your education. Meaning, there's no choice. You need this education. You need this training. She said, in fact, I want to host this event annually and make it mandatory for all my new members to attend. And when my kids are older, it'll be required for them too. So again, she's been running this club for 9 years. All the biggest trainers and speakers in the real estate world in the country go to her club. And I know you guys bring in a ton of incredible speakers to this club too. This workshop, this is her response from this 2-day training. She said, this is the best training, hands down, that I've ever brought into this club. And all of her members said the same thing. And she did bring us back again this year. We did it last year for the first time. She just brought us back again last month to do this training again. And this is the response with all the clubs we go to all over the country. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So Victoria Lau says, having come from an engineering background and having some real estate experience, the Wealthy Code has really opened my eyes to generating passive income to generating wealth through passive income. I'm no longer reliant on my job solely for income. I've learned the 3 most impactful concepts towards wealth building: raising money, structuring deals, and placing money in those deals. I'm more empowered than ever to take control of my financial future. Mavis Yao, she's in LA, she's one of our students. She said, the Wealthy Code allowed me to understand the key drivers that produce investment returns. More importantly, it gave me tools to evaluate deals not just based on return on investment, but also based on the risk level of each deal. Incredibly important. With the knowledge I have after this class, I can structure deals at a risk profile that matches my investor's risk tolerance. Overall, it's a great foundation for anyone who is looking to build wealth through financial instruments. And Mavis, one of our students, she got invited to go speak overseas in Asia to thousands of people. She's crushing it. She's out in the LA area. I think Judy, you probably know her, right? So we have tons of these testimonials, guys. I know we're running a little bit over, so I'm not going to read them all for you. But the question is, do you want to let another 10 years of mistakes pass you by before you figure out that you need to master the passive income formula? So imagine being able to have this much detail. You have a deal paying you 12% return at very high risk. You adjust leverage and spread, your deal dials here, right? You adjust leverage and spread, and it goes from 12% return to 11%, but very high risk to low risk. And then you adjust it some more, and it goes to 12.5% return, but still at low risk. And then you adjust it again, it goes 12.2% return, but back to very high risk. Which of these deals do you want to do? This one, right? Top right. That's what you're going to learn how to do at the workshop. You're going to get so good at adjusting the leverage and spread dials to get the results you want in your deal, return and risk, that you're going to be able to create the deals the way you want them to be, and the way your investors want them to be, instead of just taking it as it comes and hoping that it works out okay, right? And like I said, right now we're just saying very high risk and low risk. At the workshop, we're going to teach you how to quantify risk. How to do what? How to put numbers to risk. How to measure it with actual numbers. Right? So then you have numbers for return and you have numbers for risk. You can measure both. Most people have no clue how to measure risk. But it's incredibly important that you understand how to do that as investors. Okay? We're going to teach you this weekend. So consider these situations. Investor raised $250,000 from family and friends, invested into rental properties, lost both properties and the family's money. Or an investor invested his capital, $128,000, into a deal and lost it. And that happened to represent most of his life savings. This stuff's happening all the time, every day. And the numbers can be a lot higher than these numbers, right? So the question is, why would you do anything else when you can learn the formula to wealth in one event, one weekend, 2 days, instead of wasting years of your life and all that hard-earned money? Just invest the 2 days of time this weekend, come get the training so you know how to do it the right way. So next steps, the opportunity for becoming a top-tier investor. Again, the workshop this weekend is hands-on. It's highly interactive. And you're going to learn the step-by-step formula for generating passive income. And it says, get ready to be blown away. Get ready to be completely blown away by what you learn at this workshop. You'll be amazed. So our bold promise up here on the screen, our bold promise is that by the end of the Wealthy Code workshop, you will be structuring deals for passive income like the top 1% of investors in the world. Is that a bold promise or what? It's pretty bold. We'll deliver on it. We will deliver. So here's what you get with the Wealthy Code live training. You're going to get one ticket to come to the workshop this weekend. You're also going to get a copy of the Wealthy Code book tonight. We have them in the back. You get a hard copy of the Wealthy Code book. George's best-selling book. I suggest read as much of this as you can before you come to the workshop on Saturday.